by the political machine in Washington. You'll notice that they have embraced this. They have embraced Black Lives Matter. They have encouraged Black Lives Matter. At the universities, they have encouraged Black Lives Matter. This is Cloward and Piven. If we can just get everybody on the system, we'll collapse the system, and then we can stir up enough hatred to have a Watts riot, except in every town in America. That, they say that was just a theory. Well, a pretty evil one that you're still seeming to talk about today. And it seems to be playing itself out. What an interesting coincidence. But I want you to know this is part of top-down, bottom-up, inside-out. This is what we have warned against. That the top layer of the administration and the government, this is all based on what happened in Hungary in the 1950s, when the tanks rolled in from the communists, from Russia, Soviet Union. It was a free area. They planted communists in the government, all across the government, that wanted to side with the Soviet Union. Then those people in the top levels of the government helped the people that they had down on the street that were just useful idiots that could be killed and arrested, and they didn't care. But they planted these people, and they encouraged these people to rise up. That's when they started turning things inside out, and the bottom rose up. The average person rose up and said to the government, help us. Help us. You have to crack down on this. And they did. And there were enough communists in the government that they called in the Soviet tanks. And there was a crackdown, and they lost their country. That's the original top-down, bottom-up, inside-out story. That is what is being played out here. This is why I say to you, you must react with love. There are many people on our side that are saying, you know, Glenn, enough of this love stuff, enough of this prayer stuff. Well, first of all, prayer is really important, but so is action. You'll have to be active, yes. But if you're going to be foolish enough to play into their hands and either call for tougher laws and the cry out for the top to come down, congratulations. The only way to win is to play the game in a way they never expect you to play. Remember, light doesn't understand, or the darkness doesn't understand light. They have no idea. This is why we have gotten this far. They've expected us to rise up and be violent. You'll notice the Tea Party. What were they doing? They kept saying, they're getting violent, they're getting violent, they're getting violent. They wanted it, but we didn't, because that's not who we are. There's so much anger now, and so much really pent-up cries for vengeance, that now we're a tinderbox. Now is the time that something could go down and it could destroy everything. We must be different, peculiar, and unusual people. The only thing that they will not understand and be able to counter is us being people of God, standing in righteousness, speaking out, defending yourself if you are attacked. Remember, what did the American Revolution do? The American Revolution, they went out with their pastors. The Battle of Lexington, and I believe Bunker Hill too, was the pastors. They took it, Lexington I know for sure, they took their congregation, and the pastor took off his black robe and grabbed his gun, and he led his church out to meet, I think it was 500 soldiers, and there were 70 of them. Now, how do you possibly win? And they were going to disarm them. And they said, we are not disarming. You do not have a right to do this. And the pastor told them, prior to. And, in fact, there were because in the old days, they used to have pamphlets. And it would explain everything that was going on. So there were these, 20-page pamphlets that the pastors up in New England had passed out to everybody. And what it was is you are not allowed, God does not allow you to pull the trigger first. You cannot fire unless it's in self-defense. And so these guys were disciplined and ready to go, but they were ready to defend themselves. And as soon as the British fired, they fired back. Well, they won. 71 over 500. How? Because they were playing the game differently than the British expected, and they had the blessings of God. Now, I don't know, the Tea Party always tells me that they believe in divine providence. But then a lot of people who believe in the Tea Party values and principles, they'll say they believe in God, but only up to a point. No, I'm sorry. You can't play it that way. You have to buy in. You're either 100% in on divine providence or you're 100% out. There is no middle ground here. You can't say, well, I'll do it up to this point. You can defend yourself, but you can't fire unless fired upon. That was the rule in the American Revolution. And we're not even at that point yet. We're at the point of standing up. This is why I want you to be seen not only by God, but by the police officers in your area. We've talked about this for a long time. They need to know who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. They need to know you. They need to know you by name. They need to know that your church and all of the churches in your community are behind them. They need to know that's a safe zone for them. Because I can guarantee you they're going to need counseling, some of them. Because they're entering into very scary times. If it is open season on the cops, if this, and I hope it's not, but if this is in Abilene, if this ends up to be somebody who plotted to kill somebody at his home that is a Black Lives Matter or somebody that's holding a grudge politically, the game has changed even more than it changed last week. And that's what police officers are afraid of. We have to let them know we have their back. Now, if I may say, after all of this peace stuff, if you haven't bought a gun and ammunition for your own home and have a safe to keep it in, you might want to consider it.
That's the difference between us and the buffalo. The buffalo didn't have guns.
Yeah. I will tell you, there are many people on my staff that carry guns. And we know we're not a violent group of people, but we are not a herd of buffalo. You are not coming in and picking us off one by one. And I'm not going to shoot you to wound you. I'm going to shoot you to kill you. If you are threatening our lives, and we are afraid for our life, we will shoot you. And that's the way it has to be. Understand that if you shoot somebody, whether you're justified or not, you go to jail, and the next 18 months of your life is a living hell. And most likely you're bankrupted after it. So it's not something you do cavalier and say, oh, I'm just going to get a gun, I'll shoot him. Really? Understand, you shoot someone, even if you're justified, it's 18 months of hell, and you most likely are bankrupt at the end of it.
But you're alive.
But you're alive. But you're alive.
And this is a great, too, reminder of,